Are you happy with your life? Yes. You get everything you need, maybe trying too hard to get those things away, or maybe you inherited those things from birth. Very good. Let's be lucky. Really, for now. What did you earn? Good education. Good job with high salary, maybe your own business and properties, luxury house, vehicle, loving family, wife, husband, kids, and many more. Or maybe something above. What you could not gain. Your mind, freedom, your happiness, love. Children, they does not exist as you wish. Your beautiful face, body shape and skin color, oh my dear. You cannot control it, sorry. Your fitness, until you go to gym. Your health, until you take medicines. But how long? You are getting old day by day. Your loved ones leave you, and you have to go one day, maybe at an unexpected moment. You cannot control natural disasters, wars, accidents, and thousands of your loving lives and properties. They does not exist as you want. You cannot control hungry, poorness, and suffering of people. Even you're hungry, simply you cannot control your breath, even can you? How technology has been developed. But no. Then I say, my dear, you are very poor. What is this life? Your loved ones leave you. You leave them in tears and they leave. Right? You want to stop here, but you cannot control it. God, oh, if he really do this. How unfair he is. Do not blame him, please. It is just a word you have given to something you cannot hard to understand. To the spirit what control all the world. Only you can change your destiny, not by anyone else. No, it's not by God, it is totally inside you. You can control getting old, sickness, separation from loved ones, grief and death, yes. One-way path to nirvana, extinguishing oneself within oneself. Sri Gauthama Buddha realized that life is miserable and that the animal dies and born in the cycle of sansara. They accumulates karma or actions and suffers endlessly. While many of searching for the cause of this sorrow, the Lord Buddha realized the path to the elimination of sorrow. It is permissible to bring you the sadham path step by step. Ready to understand how to eliminate sorrow? Buddhism respects other religions and beliefs. It is for anyone to logically come and inquire and understand the vision he preached. It is a vision that manifests itself in understanding, not a creed. Be ready to go through it with your humble thoughts and with real need to understand. Let's learn who is Buddha.
Buddhism. The exact place of his birth is considered to be the Lumbini Garden, which is located today right on the southern border of Nepal. Gautama's father was Suddhodana, a local king or lord of the Sakya tribe, which had its own autonomous state within the kingdom of Kosala, and Siddhartha Gautama was considered a prince of Sakya. When Gautama was born, a wise ascetic of high intellectual achievements named Asita predicted that he would eventually become a Buddha. On the 5th day after the birth of Prince Gautama, he was named Siddaratha, meaning the one whose purpose has been attained. His mother was Mahamahaya, and according to the ancient custom, King Suddhodana invited Brahmanical priests to the palace for the naming ceremony. Among them were 8 distinguished priests. After examining the characteristics of the child, 7 of them raised 2 fingers and gave a double interpretation, saying that if he continued to live among the people and consented to rule, he would become a world monarch, but if he renounced it and turned to asceticism, he would become a Buddha. But the younger one, Khandana, who surpassed the others in knowledge, raised only one finger and firmly declared that Siddaratha would certainly renounce the world and become a Buddha.
When he heard this, Suddhodana tried in every way to keep his son in the palace, in a secure and luxurious world, wishing that his son would succeed him. He even constructed 3 palaces for him, one for each of the 3 seasons, where Siddaratha was brought up in luxury. He wore the most beautiful and expensive clothes, used the best perfumes. His servants held a white umbrella over his head day and night, so that the cold and the heat, the dust and the dewdrops would not get to him. He was entertained by musicians, none of whom were men. He only ate the best food, and for the most part, he did not leave the palace. Until the age of 29, everything was going smoothly, and King Suddhodana was careful not to cause his son any misery. Buddhist scriptures describe 4 incidents that awakened Siddaratha, and thus he came to know the 4 evils minus birth, old age, sickness and death minus from which all people suffer. But he also felt the desire to find a solution. Eventually, he renounced his princely position and embarked on a spiritual search to find out how to overcome the aforementioned human evils. He left everything at one night, exchanged his beautiful silk clothes for the simple orange tunic of a holy man, and cut off his beautiful black hair. Then, having nothing with him but a bowl for begging in order to be offered food, he began his great search to path to eliminate sad. Crossing the river Anama thus and changing into a mendicant monk's robes, determined to face whatever hardships in search of ending suffering for humanity, the prince, now ascetic Siddaratha, set off on his journey alone in the darkness of the night. He had nothing with him apart from his bowl and robes. His first resolve was to search out great spiritual masters of the day, and study under them. He felt that he would gain the knowledge of truth on how to end suffering thereby. First he went to a famous teacher called Kalama, and becoming a humble pupil, he soon gained all the knowledge and wisdom of this great sage. The teacher was delighted to have such a wonderful pupil, and once he had passed all the tests and proved himself, he offered all his pupils to Siddaratha, and urged him to stay with him and teach his pupils. The sage promised to offer his teacher's position to ascetic Siddaratha. The prince, however, did not wish for such a position, and all he wished for was to find a way out of suffering for people. He realized that the nvasansana, the mental state of neither perception nor non-perception, the highest blissful state that Kalama teaches his pupils to reach, this is an extremely high state of samadhi. He would never free them totally. He realized that this is not the ultimate. So long as the consciousness was there, that could not be the ultimate truth, the uncreated. Thus, he very courteously declined an offer and moved on.
He then found out another teacher by the name of Ramapatha. There too he became the best pupil, and soon learned all that he could learn from this master. He taught the way to Sanatana, where he learned the unlimited, infinite space consciousness. Here too, the prince realized this is not the ultimate. That there should be a better state, where the consciousness would cease, was his conviction. So long as the consciousness would be there, he knew there could not be total freedom from suffering. However, these were the highest states that anybody could reach at the time, and all the spiritual seekers of the time simply accepted these 2 states as the highest that could ever be reached. As customary in the traditions of India, Prince Siddaratha too believed in atman, a self, which is inherent with the belief of a creator god. Even though Ramapatha too offered him all his pupils, and requested him to stay on with him, the prince moved on to examine other methods of the day. He came to know 5 more ascetics who were searching for the truth on how to end suffering themselves. One of them was Khandana, Remember, he was the youngest sage out of the 5 wise men, who predicted that Prince Siddaratha would become the perfectly enlightened one, the samma sambuddha at the prince's naming ceremony. They became good friends for the young ascetic Siddaratha. They too had learned how to rise up to the states of envasana and sannaratana, and the sannaratana, the extremely subtle states of mind, but realizing that it would not lead them to the ultimate end of suffering, they were practicing severe austerities.
They were convinced that these severe ascetic practices would get rid of self completely and lead them to freedom. Siddaratha settled for these severe ascetic practices very diligently. He stopped eating anything except a mustard seed. Thereafter, he stopped that too. Still, as he did not reach the state of the uncreated, he stopped breathing. This led the body to start breathing from his pores in the skin, giving immense pain. However, ascetic prince did not let up. How he went on practicing these extreme austerities is hard to describe. It suffices to say here, that the remarkable prince thus went on practicing for 6 years until one fine day, he fainted through sheer pain and feebleness. Ascetic Siddaratha then knew that these harsh practices would never lead him to freedom. He started taking food little by little. The 5 ascetics who were his friends, were caring for him all these years. They thought that once his vitality returned, Prince Siddaratha would start the practice again until he becomes enlightened through it. They had confidence in him, as he was a brilliant guy, and was wont to prove difficult achievements. They too believed in an atman and thus had faith in the harsh practices of asceticism, which meant that the body should be tortured until the self is gotten rid of. Ascetic Siddaratha started taking food, became much better, and one day after taking a bath in the river Gauthama, was sitting in meditation under a banyan tree. There in this village, lived a damsel named siddaratha, who used to offer food to the deva whom she believed was resident on this tree. She prepared some milk rice and placing them inside a bowl of gold, she brought them to the tree to be offered to this deva.
When she saw ascetic Siddaratha, thus seated under the tree, with his extraordinary good looks, she thought that the deva had descended from the tree and was thus sitting in meditation. She was elated and offered the milk rice to the ascetic Siddaratha, who accepted it. Siddaratha, thus far, had not had a proper meal since he started the harsh ascetic practices. Now, because he had realized that such a practice would never yield to nibbana, he accepted this meal from Siddaratha, and without delving into it mindlessly like any other hungry man would, like the sage he was, he first silently blessed and thanked the damsel in gratitude and mindfully made 39 balls out of the milk rice. He then very mindfully ate them one by one. Seeing this, his 5 ascetic friends thought that he had given up his search for enlightenment and started taking food. Thus, disappointed, they left him to fend for himself. Now left all alone, with no one in the world, Siddaratha went up to the river Gauthama. After washing his hands and the golden bowl, he let the bowl into the river, saying, "If I should get enlightened and thus free the world from suffering, this bowl would float upstream." And lo! The bowl did float upstream, caught in a sudden current. Seeing this, ascetic Siddaratha became encouraged, even though everything in his quest for enlightenment thus far has yielded nothing for him nor the world. Instead, he had lost everything he had, even his 5 friends who stood with him till now had gone away.
After seeing the gold bowl float upstream, ascetic Siddaratha crossed the river Dhamma. A little way further up he found a nice tree to sit and meditate underneath. A passing Brahmin had offered him a pile of grass to be used as a seat. He spread the grass underneath the tree and took seat. He then determined thus: "Let my blood, bones and sinews dry up, I shall not get up from this seat, until I have realized the cause behind suffering and freedom from it." He then resorted to what is unique to him as his own meditation technique. Hitherto, he had tried all the techniques that had been taught to him by others, but they were of no avail on his quest to end suffering. Now he started on his own method. His mind was full of metta, loving kindness, and compassion. With a mind full of compassion and kindness, he started the anapanna meditation that was unique to him from his childhood. In the early hours of the full moon day in May, he achieved samma sambuddhahood, perfectly complete enlightenment.
Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho
After that, Buddha was starting preached what he realized to the world. Until today, thousands of people following ultimate truth path to nibbana and find their enlightenment. We will bring those steps by step to you. Stay with us.
Itipiso Bhagava